confusing, yeah. My clock is
Right on the money.
5:59.
Right on the money. All right, so. Or just, I should go. So it's about 6 o'clock. I'm going to call the regular select board meeting to order. And just a couple announcements before we. Meeting format tonight where we have some people on Zoom. And so just bear with us. We no doubt will have some technical difficulties with that, and we'll just try to improve as we go. Going forward, but I think it's an important way for people to be able to connect, so that's good. The other thing is, if everybody could speak up, a lot of folks are wearing masks tonight just out of caution after hearing Vermont posted a record number of COVID cases today, which is kind of bad news, but here we are. All right, so first thing is set adjust agenda. Does anybody have? Casey, you have some things.
Yes. Under item number 5, I would like to add a second banner application in addition to AWARE. Add an item number 9 to discuss parking recommendations from the Hardwick Planning Commission regarding the 2022 AOT paving project. And add an item number 10 for the select board to consider authorizing the town manager to enter into a contract with BIS Construction Consultants to be the owner's rep clerk of the works for the Yellow Barn construction.
Yeah. Anybody have anything else? Have a motion to accept those changes to the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I think that was everybody. Any opposed? All right, that was everybody. All right, so let's roll. Hang on. I'm missing a communication from the audience.
Oh, whoops.
So, I'm gonna do that right now.
There's audience people here, just want to mention that might be here to talk about issues
yeah.
coming up in my report.
Okay, so.
Can they be involved at that time?
Sure, so, would anybody like to communicate anything to the select board that's not on our agenda? Because we can have communication when we get to items on the, yes, could you state?
Hopkins.
Yeah.
It has to do with Light Company Road.
Okay.
239.
Can we, where John's got that in his report, can we
Yes.
talk about it then?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm on the agenda or not.
You are number 3.
Okay.
Do we have extra agendas over here?
That's the packets, yes.
Anybody? No? Okay. All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming anyway. Next up is select board to approve minutes from the last regular meeting, which was September 2, and a special meeting September 2, and another one September 9th.
I'll make the motion to approve the regular select board meeting minutes of September 2nd and the special meeting minutes of September 2nd and September 9th as written. Second.
Any discussion on the minutes? Anybody have anything? Kudos to the minutes writers on the regular minutes. They were good. The others were very brief. All in favor of approving them as written, please say aye.
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 Abstain.
And so we have 4 ayes and an abstention. All right, next up, town report, John Jewett.
I just wanted to just update you a little bit on ARPA money, and I'm not sure, I did send out a pamphlet to the board about how to use ARPA money. I thought that was pretty well written, so it kind of explains a few things, but what I wanted to mention was a few things is money, we're gonna get $855,227 of ARPA money. The money cannot be used for cash flow needs. The money misspent by a sub-grantee, so if you decide to give money to a group, a nonprofit, or just to maybe a business or something like that, if that money is misspent or not spent on time by that sub-grantee, the town will have to pay it back. And what I want to recommend is, since I'm not going to be here for this, is that the town should do a financial review of all potential sub-grantees. And you should be aware that even an ironclad contract will not relieve the town from its responsibility to pay back the funds to the federal government, though the town may be able to recover the funds with a good contract from the sub-grantee in a lawsuit. But in the meantime, you've got to pay that money back. So I just wanted to mention that so you really understand that. You've got to be really careful. It's like some of the work we do when we hand out an economic development loan, you want to make sure you do the background check on all those people before you do that. All right. Any questions about ARPA money? Okay, it's pretty clear what it should be spent on, the major things.
Just to
Water, sewer, broadband, and they say don't rush to spend it on broadband because infrastructure bill, when it comes out, will probably cover some of that as well in broadband, and the state's getting a bunch of ARPA money itself, which they'll probably allocate for broadband as well. So it's best for the town to save that money for things in the community.
So I do actually have a question about that. If I read it correctly, that there is a stipulation in the usages that are allowed for financial reimbursement for losses during the COVID.
Yep.
So if there were extra monies potentially available that weren't going to be utilized for other projects, maybe we could give it to the taxpayers and give them a property tax break with those extra funds if they need to be allocated somewhere.
I think what that's referring to is like what I read a little bit about this is if, like we took a loss on some water rates because some people weren't able to pay them, so that the town could basically use that money to take up
Right.
does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, I understand
Okay.
that. But I think that with the COVID, there are a lot of property taxpayers that really had a difficult time coming up with it. And that maybe some sort of...
Well, some way they'd have to be able to demonstrate that this was different than another year.
Right, right.
And in many cases, from my experience, in this town, my experience in East Montpelier is that we have the same people who aren't paying that didn't pay before.
Right.
So if they can't demonstrate any difference, you can't really give them the money.
Right, I understand that.
Right.
They lost their source of income
Yeah.
due to being laid off or whatever, and being sequestered at home, quarantined or whatever. I think that those might be just cause uses
Yeah.
for that kind of monies.
I don't know. You'd have to definitely look into that.
Consider it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, it's a good idea to think about. I mean, but you want to make sure that those people are going to use that money for what they're supposed to use it for, when they're supposed to use it, or the town pays it back, so the rest of the taxpayers would end up paying for it.
Right, but I was envisioning more of a process where the town would actually accept the funds from the federal government, apply it toward people that are in need of property tax bills, and then send them a revised bill saying, okay, that we
Right.
used some of our ARPA money for this.
And I'm not sure if property taxes have been that bad. I know water and sewer rents were down, but the ARPA or the state's already offered money to pay those bills for them. So, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's consideration, although it may
Consideration.
border on spending it on regular.
Water and sewer infrastructure.
I understand.
Yeah, because in a way, if you help cover the costs of the construction project for water and sewer, you're helping people keep their taxes down, actually their water rates.
Down, yeah.
Sludge measurement, this is really exciting stuff here. It was performed at the wastewater facility last week, and the original estimation for sludge in the lagoons was around 120 tons. The estimation, if you look at my report, is that lagoon number 1 has 678 tons, and lagoon number 2 has 645 tons. That equates to about 1,300 tons. And at $2,000 a ton, that equates to like $2.6 million to get rid of the sludge in those two lagoons, which would be more than the entire project was supposed to go for, just to remove the sludge. And as background, Heinsberg has 4 lagoons. They thought they were going to have to remove $250,000 worth of sludge out of their lagoons. They got one lagoon cleaned for $500,000. No, excuse me, $929,000. So the cost of lagoon cleaning is going to be really expensive. So the suggestion from my point of view is that we go back, rebid the contract, and do a partial upgrade and not do the complete upgrade of the plant, just do one lagoon. The other thing that was recommended too by the person who did the sampling was that the town, actually, individually, the town goes to the receiving areas, they're gonna receive the sludge, take the sludge and dispose of it, the disposal facilities, and negotiate a separate deal with them independently, and you can probably save a couple $100 or more a ton doing it that way. And then just go to contract to hire somebody to haul it out and dewater it. And then you could even hire a trucker to haul it up there. There's Canada and Buffalo, New York, where you can bring it. But I guess the best deal would be, in the long run, if you work out your own deal, would be, the shortest run would be to go to Canada.
Where in Canada?
I don't know exactly where it is, but they know who it is.
In Quebec? Just
Yeah,
north of
Quebec.
us?
Mhm.
Okay.
Do you
So-
have any idea what the cost annually is for hauling the sludge?
Well, we went years without hauling sludge out of those lagoons, but we've changed our process because of phosphorus reduction requirements. So we produce significantly more sludge because of phosphorus, the chemical we use now settles everything. And they just cleaned those lagoons out a couple of years ago and spent, how much was it, 200,000? And they didn't get it all cleaned out. They cleaned they figured they cleaned maybe a fifth of the contents of the lagoon out. So it's increasing quite rapidly, and there's quite a bit of sludge there. And you used to be able to take it to Casella, so you could, but none of these places in Vermont can take it anymore, so it has to go out of state. And if you know, going to Buffalo is a 10-hour drive.
And nobody around is land applying anymore?
Can't, no, they've pretty much shut everybody down. Even Michaud's have shut down for their land application, so.
At the last meeting, you mentioned that there was one lagoon in particular that needed to be replaced more than the others, is that?
The what?
There was a lagoon that should be cleared out.
Well, I think the first lagoon should probably be cleaned first. They want to put a new cover on the anaerobic end of that lagoon. And there's places in that lagoon, it goes anywhere from 3 feet to 5 feet deep to sludge in that lagoon. The lagoons themselves are about 12 feet deep, so it's got quite a bit of sludge in it. But in order to do the work you need to do, you have to clean out those lagoons altogether completely. So if you can, but you can't do it if you can't afford it. So I would say do one lagoon at a time and try to find additional money to do the other lagoons. And I think the town should write a letter to Agency of Natural Resources and explain to them what's going on here. We're not the only town that has a lagoon. Lagoons were the cheapest option you could have to build. So a lot of small towns had lagoons. Marshfield, Danville, Heinsberg was small at the time.
Johnson and
I know Johnson has a real wastewater plant, but these other plants are structurally easier to build and cheaper to build. So what happened was they put these into these small towns. Well, now, because the phosphorus requirements are so low and the chemicals used produce so much sludge, they don't have any mechanism to remove the sludge. A more conventional wastewater plant can remove sludge on a daily basis and dewater it, handle it, get rid of it, but not these plants. So we need to talk with the state about the possibility of adding on something on the end of all these lagoons that will make it easier to containerize the sludge and remove it on a daily or weekly or monthly basis. Right now, the costs, I think you asked, they're saying you need to put aside $50,000 to $100,000 a year for sludge removal. That's a huge operational cost for a small town. And our biggest cost between water and sewer is sewer. Sewer is substantially higher to operate than water. So that's just something to keep in mind.
So for right now, we're not really in a position to move forward with the project as laid out.
No, I would recommend you wait till after the first of the year and go out to bid again and try to get the bids accomplished before the end of the fiscal year so you can still stay in the same bond year. And then you can do part of the plant as opposed to do all of the plant. Because you had a $400,000 grant, you don't want to lose that money if you can avoid
Right,
it.
It was,
yeah.
yeah, it was 40%.
Yeah.
Well, and even if we had gone ahead with the current low bidder, my understanding was that they were probably going to do it next year anyway, right? The
Yes,
west.
Yeah, they weren't gonna start to work till spring because it didn't make sense to try to do it in the fall. And you gotta remember that bid that we have with that company right now is a lump sum bid. So even if we halved it now, we'd still have to pay all the money.
If we have the project.
Unless we pull
Yeah.
pieces of it out.
Right, I
But,
see.
so what we need to do, I think, is just go back and rebid it
Okay,
in the spring and just do the parts of the plant you can do without having to deal with sludge, and then doing one of the lagoons.
make a plan to do the other one later.
Yeah,
All right.
okay.
Well, we don't, I mean, yeah, if we don't have the money, we're not moving forward now.
Yeah, so I got one thing here, it's a little touchy, but I just want to let you know that some Vermont towns are starting to look at requiring staff to be vaccinated or to take a COVID test once per week. And the state of Vermont implemented this with their own employees on September 15th, which was yesterday. State employees will be required to attest to their vaccination status, or they will be subjected to weekly testing. I think the town should consider doing that. I know that the town where I live, we're considering doing the same thing. So, nothing you have to do, I just want to mention it, that other people are doing, they're looking at it now. And then today with 300 some odd cases, it probably makes sense to start thinking about that.
And we
I
did
have a
this.
suspicion that that's going to end up in the court systems. The Vermont State Employee Association is probably going to bring it before the courts.
They actually said they agree with it because
Really?
they're protecting, they agree with it, but they think if there's any long-term financial costs to the employees that may need to be addressed, but they're saying, you think about it, they got 8,000 employees, probably 80% of them are vaccinated. They have to say they're protecting them as well as working with the other folks. So they're kind of caught in the middle. They can't, they could anger people no matter what they do.
Right, I
So
understand.
So they've basically agreed
I do
to allow.
believe that at some point in time, it's going to go before the courts. Federally or statewide, either way. There are
Right.
already states that are suing about it.
Right.
And if it proves to be an unconstitutional mandate, I mean, maybe we should wait at least long enough to see.
Well, testing's not not an unconstitutional mandate. If you
Right.
ask people to get tested,
Right.
maybe to ask them to be vaccinated, but the point is, if they don't want to be vaccinated, then they just need to be tested so we know if they're sick or not. Because that's basically what's spreading COVID now, people having it and not knowing they have it. So, be nice to know. Okay, next.
Do you have a question, Kaylee?
I was just gonna say, maybe we should look into that and add it to our next agenda, because that's 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, that's good.
So I
Put
want,
that in the minutes. Oh, 3.
what?
Oh, we have a 3-week intermission. Yay.
Yay. I have a long intermission. So, Arlene
Yes.
and,
This is my son Chad.
hi Chad.
I'd personally like to talk to Mike personally.
You what?
I'd like to talk to Mike personally.
Well, hold on a second.
Not
You-
on Zoom.
No, yeah, you need to talk, in this realm here, we talked to, we
Well, 'cause
talked,
he was just down at my parents' house.
yeah.
A couple hours ago,
Yeah.
so.
We talk, in this format, we talk to the select board,
Okay.
basically. That's what I always talk to the select board. That way I don't get in any arguments with anybody. Well, maybe just little ones. So anyway, Arlene came to my office to explain to me that she was told by Hardwick Electric that they could no longer use the bridge that goes to the warehouse where Hardwick Electric stores their trucks and all their equipment and everything. The bridge needed to be rebuilt, and in the meantime, they couldn't use the bridge because it had to be rebuilt, but on top of that, you were told that you couldn't use that any longer because you had no rights to it.
They have no rights to the bridge. He told me that again today.
So they were concerned that they would not be able to get to their home, and they've lived there at that place for 36 years, and there's no other way across unless they built a bridge somewhere at this point. So they're very upset about it, and from my perspective, what I felt was that this is a policy issue, not a town manager issue. I don't make policy, I enforce policy, or I work with policy. And I think that's bad policy if you tell people that they can't use your bridge and they have no way to get to their home.
And they're trying to block. Right in
He
front of
came
my
down
house.
tonight and he told me that if he was going to put in a $10,000 fencing across my property to block us from getting off our property, even if we wanted to get on the bridge. Right at the moment, he said, we can use the bridge until they put the fencing up. I told him tonight, my husband and I told him tonight, buy us out. And he said, well, we can do that. He says, what do you want? I said, I want $100,000 for my property. And he just kind of laughed, he said, well, I can't give you that.
So,
And I just feel like, he's trying to bully us.
Oh,
well, Mike's online on there, but, so I just wanted to say that I felt personally that this is not a town manager thing, this is a select board item, and that maybe the select board could work with the Hardwick Electric Commission and come up with a policy on how they would deal with something like this, and maybe alleviate their fears that they won't be able to get to their home, and hopefully keep me out of it. And so that's what I was trying to do. And
My husband has medical issues,
very.
severe medical issues, so there'd be no way for emergency crews to get there. We wouldn't be able to have heat in our home. I mean, 35 years, and it's been longer than that because when Alfred Ainier's parents owned the Ainier Trailer Park, Larry Patrick lived on the property we're living on. That over 50 years ago, my husband was 9 years old at the time. And that bridge has been used. Maybe before that, I don't know, but I know as far as the last 50 years. My husband's 61 years old.
And I guess you were saying it was a liability issue for them.
A liability issue. How come all of a sudden
That they used it for
35, 36 years, all of a sudden it's a liability issue?
But it
No,
allows the public to park on it, A&B Tree Services, the town of Hardwick comes across there and maintains that bridge. They maintain that road.
For as long
ever
as
since
we
I've
lived
been
there.
kid. And I
They
may be
never,
wrong, but it does say Hardwick Electric Drive 239.
Doesn't say
Doesn't
private?
say private, doesn't say whatever. The town of Hardwick has maintained that road ever since I was a little kid. And and the public has always gone on.
Over there.
And we have never had a problem with any of them guys, ever. We've never had a problem using that bridge. Never had a problem with any of the superintendents before him. And now, whatever. Now all of a sudden, since he's got it on, the past couple months, my parents have come to me and, explained this and this, and this guy that had come to their house, he was there like 2 hours ago, before all this. Saying all kinds of stuff. All kinds of stuff.
Is this a public way? I mean, is it a...
It's not a legal road as the state would identify it as, but it is a public way because the public use it.
Exactly. The town is always plowed it. They've graded it.
Graded
They've
it,
maintained
and
it.
then sand it,
They,
always taken care of.
all of a sudden, I don't know what happened.
And they do have a fence up over by the poles,
Yes.
so nobody can get in there after hours. Well, now he's talking about putting a fence up across our property,
Literally this far from my mom and dad's window.
across our property, and then he's going to put up, I believe he said, an electric fence, not as electric to shock us, but or electric gate to open and shut on there, but we can't use it. We can use it until everything's settled, but after everything's settled, we can't. And then we talked about, my husband said, well, nobody's ever come to us and maintain the bridge. And he said, my husband, well, nobody's ever going to come to you. And these are just things I'm remembering, please bear with me. He said, well, it'd be cheaper to pay $10,000 to have this fence and stuff put up than to pay you for your property. It's true, it probably is true. But you're blocking me out, you're blocking my rights to things. And I said something, he said, well, there's been a lot of damage done to this bridge. And I said, you're blaming that on my truck? I
They
said,
own an F-150.
yeah, it's all I own. That's
They
what-
don't do burnouts on it, they don't.
I'm 63 years old. I have no desire to go out and burn nuts on the bridge. But anyhow, I said, the trucks themselves do the damage. They come flying across that, slam back in.
They fly across it. I mean,
And
it is
everything.
what it is.
I mean, it's stuff, and he says, when you go across it, do you scratch it? What do you mean, do I scratch the bridge?
So, what I have, Mike, do you want to say?
So I
I
just,
have no problem like saying it.
so I just will
I
say
know.
that I've talked with Lynn Gedanken, who's chair of the Hardwick Electric Board of Commissioners, and I talked with Mike a couple times about this, and most recently, I mean, Mike's on the line here, he can speak for himself, but I believe he committed to finding a way forward that,
That's not what his.
His way forward is to fence us off.
Yes.
Like I said, he jumped in there 2 hours ago.
okay, Mike, are you?
We also have somebody online, Brooke Dingledine, that has asked to say something.
Okay.
May I speak, Mr. Chair?
Sure.
Great. My name is Brooke Dingledine, and I represent Hardwick Electric Department. I'm an attorney. And might I suggest that this matter, first of all, let me just state, I cannot understand a word that the folks in the audience are saying because they're speaking so loud, it's just reverberation and you can't make out any of the content of their speech. But what I'm getting from your comments and someone else that's off camera, I think that's on the board. This is a matter that involves some legal issues. I have been already in touch by email with Sarah Davies Coe, or I think that's right, which order I got it in. So that we can have a conversation about the issues of the folks that live in this home. And, but we can't, it's really not appropriate in this forum to be making promises or to make representations about matters that really have some pretty serious legal issues attached to them, one of them being liability for a non-public road. So it's not a typical town road that the town is immunized from liability. And so with the repair of the bridge, it was necessary because safety required that. And if that impeded the way, I'm sorry, but it's something that was required so that public safety was not impaired and people were not put at risk. So Hardwick Electric is more than happy to discuss this, but I think that conversation for council to begin with, and so that we can begin to understand what the issues of concern are, and we can give our respective clients the appropriate advice so that we can make sure that citizens are well protected and that their concerns are adequately addressed. It's just impossible in this forum for you to expect Mr. Sullivan to respond to something that we can't even understand what it is that has been stated to you tonight. And we recommend that we're happy to sit down and work this out in a forum that we can understand all the issues and have those issues informed by the attorneys for the town who understand the liability issues and the status of roads in terms of making sure going forward that all parties are adequately protected and there is appropriate allocation of liability so that the town does not place itself in a position of having a road that it's liable for but not as a town road pursuant to the typical statutory liability immunization that exists in Vermont law.
Is there a plan to allow these people access to their home once the bridge is fenced off or repaired?
Well, the bridge is repaired.
That's not a conversation that I am prepared to provide. I don't know what the legal issues are. I don't know enough about the facts and what the challenges are in terms of this appears to be a landlocked parcel that ought to have easement rights out another way, but whether or not this is what the resolution for this is, or if there even is a significant issue that can't be addressed very simply and easily, I can't say at this point. I don't have enough information. So while I understand people are anxious for a resolution, I understand that there's no impairment of the way at this point. A repair has been made to the bridge. So there is no current situation that would prevent the folks living there from accessing their property. So why don't we take a moment to sit down, understand what the issues are, and then we can adequately address whatever the situation is and move forward so that what the town's intentions are are able to be accomplished, but without compromising the protections that the government gives to municipalities.
All right, well, set up time for us to meet.
Yeah, so I think that sounds like folks are amenable to moving forward in a way that's a calm, rational discussion about the issues that will help move this to a resolution.
The only thing I don't understand is that tonight when Mike was standing in my dooryard, he said that he could start charging us to go across the bridge, a monthly fee to travel back and forth across the bridge. How can he charge me a monthly fee?
This is Mike, and I just want to state that, like Brooke said, it's very hard to hear what people are saying. But I did hear what was just said, and the bits and pieces of other things that I did accomplish hearing, I absolutely disagree with. I nor Hardwick Electric are looking to harm anybody here. There are some legal issues that need to be addressed. It's as simple as that. And not looking to harm anybody, not looking to not let people get to their property, not looking to do anything other than resolve this appropriately and in everybody's, including the abutting property owner's best interests. And going into a meeting with you guys and screaming and yelling isn't going to accomplish anything.
Nobody's screaming and yelling, Mike.
Well, in my headphones it is, and
I'm
it's,
sorry, nobody
that's
is.
what it is.
Mike and Arlene, I just have a clarifying. I think it makes sense to absolutely have a meeting about this as soon as possible between the select board and the HED and whatever lawyers are needed. But I also think that if it's possible to not move forward on the project or have HED visit this family until we figure out exactly what it is that we're doing. So I feel comfortable having a conversation. I don't feel comfortable having a conversation while HED is continuing to move forward on a project that we haven't settled. So I just want to make sure that that is the case, that if we're going to settle it legally, that we're waiting until we do that. Because it sounds like there are things happening and there are lots of visits happening. So just seems like that's, Mike, is that, are you still there?
I've had 3 site visits, I believe, with the Hopkins, and I wrote them a couple of letters, and nothing has been settled. There's no lines drawn in the sand. Everything is open, available, and discussable, and I think that our attorney and the town's attorney need to talk and get them two on the same page, and we'll go from there.
That sounds good to me. I think that's a way to resolve it.
All right, so I'm gonna thank you to everyone. I'm gonna move us along. Next is the Hardwick Police Department report. Aaron's at a training, so he gave us a memo about stuff that he's been working on.
Let me just read it. There's a couple things there that that I'll just mention, then we'll be done with it. The police department has started a project. They said they're going to be standardizing the hiring and background checks, so that'll make us all happier in that regard. They've been going to mandatory training for use of force policy, so they can start adjusting their policy according to what the state police have for use of force. And then the other thing that he wanted covered was that we all received notice a while here, just like this last week, that they're going to create a regional EMS sort of emergency management program, and right now the towns handle it. And so when there's an issue, you got 250 what towns, they're all kind of doing it slightly differently. So what they decided to do is regionalize it, and each town's going to be asking to assign one person and a second person from the local EMS, whichever you have, if it's a police officer, a fire chief, or somebody from rescue, to attend these regional meetings. And so depending on how many towns you have, there's going to be 2 representatives from each town in the region. And this region, I think, is Caledonia County and I think maybe Essex County.
Oh, that's a big
Yeah.
region.
I think so. They have a map of the regions you can find.
Okay.
In East Montpelier, we're gonna have, there's gonna be 46 people attending these meetings.
Wow. So the idea is, this is replacing kind of the regional, the town emergency management plan that we ratify every
Yep.
year, and we say where our response center is and who our people are. That's
Yep.
all that is going to come to a regional
Yep.
level, and we'll just appoint representatives to it.
Right, and
Okay.
we were, in the town where I'm on the select board, we were approached with Central Vermont regional planning. So I suspect the MVDA will be kind of spearheading this.
Okay.
And so what they can do is they can, instead of just using money from each town, and having each town individually do it, they're gonna have money that's gonna be allocated for a whole region. So they said they can get better training programs, more regular training, and better equipment, and know where that equipment and that materials are in case of an emergency. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised if the emergency response, like medical response folks, wouldn't start to be regionalized as well. At least down where I live. But, so anyway, that's
interesting.
the big change.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Aaron's currently at one of those trainings listed in the thing. We also have next the Hardwick Electric Department report. If we still have Mike Sullivan on the line, I'm not sure because I can't see that far.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm here.
Do you want to report anything out of your regular monthly report?
Yeah, I think I told you guys last month about a ribbon cutting ceremony on the H11, and that's the final details getting knocked out on that. It's going to be, I believe, the second week of October, and the only thing left, I believe, that they're trying to work out is who they're going to use for a guest speaker. I recommend a Public Utility Commission member, because they don't like to speak at projects or these kind of events. I also recommended DPS Commissioner Tierney, who would be great too. So we'll see who they get. But you're all going to be invited, and we'll have our ceremony and christen the place and get it online. That'll be great. Our Walcott Surge Tower Foundation project is finally getting ready to have some concrete poured. We ran into some major problems with that foundation that was 91 years old, and the intention was to demolish the first 6 inches into the foundation all around it, and then reinforce it and pour new concrete, but we actually ended up taking out 20 inches of concrete before we got into the hard stuff. To the point where if we had to take any more, we were going to have to take the surge tower down and rebuild the whole thing. But all worked out well, and we're getting ready to do our first pour Monday or Tuesday, so that's getting back on track. Obviously, the Wolcott generator's been offline since that project started in mid-July. The generator was also, we pulled annual maintenance on that, and did a cleaning, which is done about every 5 years. So that's going to be good to go for another 5 years. Everything tested out good after that work was done. Our purchase power year to date, we are $1,000 under budget of $1.72 million with a 98% coverage ratio. So that's pretty impressive. Very happy with Beth's performance for us there. Our year-to-date income is 2% over budget, and our expenses year-to-date are 5.5% under budget, so things financially are looking good. And I did also mention last month the BRAP program that has money available for people to pay utility bills, including electric and other. And we've had very little participation in that. And again, I want to wave that flag for people and raise awareness that there is money available. So if you need it, please go get it. If you have any questions, call us here. We can help you and steer you to the right links to access those funds and help you out. And beyond that, I'll take any questions you might have.
Folks have questions about Hardwick Electric report?
I just had a really basic question. Mike, I haven't checked lately, but are the offices open yet?
Yes.
Great, awesome, thank you.
Yeah, and we're actually fully staffed now, finally, too.
All right. Anything else for Mike? All right, thank you. All right, so next up is item number 1, the select board, who has been very busy meeting with town manager search committee, meeting lots of subsequent meetings, has finally come to a point where our item tonight is to consider offering the position of town manager to David Upson Jr., who is here with us tonight. And so we'd like to have a motion to that effect, I think.
I'd love to move to offer the position of town manager to David Upson Jr.
Second?
You want the second? All right. So I'll just say that we had a very competitive applicant pool. We had a lot of applicants. We ended up interviewing 6 in the first round interviews and 2 in the second. And out of, I think we started with around 20 applications. And really pleased to be at this point where we're working with Opie, and so that's what I want to say. So all in favor of hiring Opie, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? I think that's everyone. It's so hard with all the masks. So could you please come up?
Yes.
All right. And, oh, you're on the front and I'm in the back. So just thank you.
Thank you.
And
I'm looking forward to this.
yeah, it's great. It's so great.
I believe everything I've done up until now has prepared me for this position.
It certainly has. Oh my God.
It brings you here. So this is great. So we have, we could sign these now if you like, or we could sign them after, later. We have contracts that are clean.
Okay. Yeah, well,
just do it.
I'll just take one and
Yeah.
just make sure that it's...
Yeah, that sounds great. And then we can catch up after the meeting. Is that
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna stick around for the whole meeting.
That is good. Get used to it.
Yeah.
And I'm sticking around for the whole meeting, but don't get used to it.
Okay. Yeah, you're a short timer. So just thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your willingness and ability to serve the town in this capacity. It's going to be great.
I'm a huge supporter of Hardwood.
We know, and that is awesome.
Thank you.
So, all right, unless anybody else wants to say anything. What, Jerry?
I don't have anything, no.
Yeah, it's just good. All right, so next up, Select Board to consider approving an errors and omissions request presented by Matt Krajewski, New England Municipal Consultants, Matt's our assessor, and he's on Zoom. And he sent us a thing, and basically, well, you can tell us what it is.
All right, I appreciate you having me tonight. I was originally planning to be with you and had a couple of sites I had to be on the other side of Standard Mountain. Today took me a little later, so appreciate you having me in this forum. The errors and omissions request that we have for you tonight is driven from a current use change as passed down to us from the state of Vermont. It affects a property owned by Thomas J. and Janet E. Bellavance, located at 972 West Hill Road. This errors and omissions request technically affects 2 parcels that are currently active for the 2021 grand list. So it's parcel 05049-00000 and parcel 05049-00010. So the current assessments on them for the 49 parcel with the 5 zeros corresponding afterwards is $314,900, and the 49-10 parcel, I'll refer to it as, the current assessment is $103,200. The current use department This is a new application that they approved. The Bellavances had bought an abutting parcel to them with a dwelling on it, and the current use department has now enrolled the entire, I should say both the parcels, as one combined contiguous current use account. So basically what we're asking from you here today is that we have to consolidate 2 active accounts into 1 active account, and certainly the active account is going to be the 49 with the 5 zeros that follow afterwards. So I'll kind of just summarize it there. The total assessment or the proposal is that the 05049-5 zeros would yield an assessed value of $389,800, and the 49-10 parcel would be rendered inactive, I should say. So this is kind of it's a bit of a formality. I'm not sure if we can really contest too much what the current use department has to say to us. They're relatively insistent that they want this change to be made here, but out of courtesy and kind of the formality here, I do have to present this to you because this is technically a change to the grand list.
To make the motion to approve the errors and omissions request for the Thomas J. Anna E. Belavance property, which would be to make the parcel 050490010 inactive, and the total grand list value of parcel 050490000 $389,800.
Well done. So
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? Seems like we have to do it.
Yeah.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much, Matt.
Hey, appreciate your time. I just wanted to say congratulations to David Upson too. I've had great interactions with him out at his property and his family. They've been great so far, so really looking forward to working with him.
Excellent. We are too.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for that.
All right, appreciate you folks. Take care.
You too. All right. Next, item 3, Bear Bissett to discuss the need for roadside tree trimming. And we have Bear in the audience.
Yeah.
Right there.
First, I want to applaud your decision on hiring Opie. I think you did well, and, you know, I think you did well for everybody in Hardwick.
Yeah.
I don't know, I feel kind of awkward being here. I mean, I mentioned this to the town foreman maybe a year ago or months ago, and his thing, I said, you know, you must be ripping the shit out of your mirrors. And he's like, nah, we'll put the wing down, we don't even get that close. Like it wasn't an issue to him. I mentioned it to the town manager, and he's like, well, come to the select board meeting. I mean, if you look across the street, you can't even walk on a sidewalk. The limbs of that tree are coming right down. That's the shape of every road in Hardwick. Center Road, Vermont Avenue, every road my buses go on. I mean, I can't tell you it's this road, I can tell you it's every road. I mean, you go there, you go up Vermont Avenue with my bus, I almost got to get into Louise's driveway to avoid the trees. It'd be, you know, obviously it'd be horrific if I met somebody there. I mean,
Yeah. We get it. I mean,
I don't feel, I mean, I don't know if the manager's not doing his job, or Tom's not doing his job, or you're not doing your job, but whose job is it to take care of the foliage that's encroaching on the roads? I mean, it shouldn't be my job to come here and say, hey, what's going on? I mean,
Sometimes it's a wake-up call for everybody though, if somebody does come to a meeting like this.
I think that we lose focus over it. Like, I think that there are times when we're like, all right, we really need to, this is an issue, and let's get, you know, it seems like it wasn't that long ago, we had a flail mower on the side, like going back and trimming, and I don't have a good explanation for you for why we're not doing it this summer.
Put anybody's feet to the fire,
but it's
I'm
good.
looking to, the ship has been turned in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
I want to get it headed in the direction that'll take care of some of this foliage.
So I would suggest the first thing you do is put more money back into the capital fund so you can do, instead of, you moved it into an operational fund and every year that disappears and goes into the fund balance. put it in the capital fund and put enough in there so that you can do a mile of road or 2 miles of road. We have 65 miles of road, it's gonna take a long time to do that. I'm just gonna tell you I keep going back to my experience where I'm a select board member in East Montpelier. We're putting $21,000 a year into roadside trimming, and we have about the same number of miles of roads as Hardwick does. And then we're combining that with the money that we're getting from the state to do the ash tree removal at the same time. So we were getting 15 grand from the state, we're getting less now, but we're putting about a little over $30,000 a year into roadside trimming. And that's the only way you're gonna keep up with it. Yeah. We're fortunate enough that we have a person who's a tree warden who actually worked for Forest and Park, so he knows what he's doing, and he makes those suggestions and people follow what he says because they respect him for that. I don't think you have that level of tree warden here. But you ought to get some advice and you ought to put some money away and start doing it. And we're actually using tree services to do the work. And we bid it out.
Right.
And we found some really good people to do it. So you're not gonna be able to do it all at the same time, but maybe you could focus on the worst case scenarios. And talk to people like Beard, find out where they are.
Or the most traveled, worst.
Yeah.
So
And I
just wanted to make 2 additional comments to that. So our tree warden, Jeff Ferris, is an arborist, and so does have the expertise to be able to help with that, and has been helping the Conservation Commission with talking about ash trees and how we're going to address that issue, because it will be an issue at some point for Hardwick. But I think similarly to how Tom has, we have the paving schedule, which we finally got that in East Hardwick. I'm so excited about it. I think there should be a similar schedule for tree trimming, whether that's in alignment with the paving schedule or it's focusing on certain areas first. There are some major blind spots, like for turns, that I think are extra dangerous. So I think that would be a question, like a question for Tom, and then a combination of putting that into the budget, but then also knowing that we don't let 5 years slide because we've got a schedule for it. So it's going to happen. If there's something that's an extra need, then somebody like you, Bear, could say, oh, I noticed that Vermont Ave is really bad, and maybe we can push that further up the list. I think that would be a good...
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, you're right. It could be like the paving schedule or the back road improvement schedule, like we need a schedule.
So I seem to recall that when we did the budget last year, well, it was at the auditor's recommendation to stop putting it in capital and put it in the highway budget, but it was decided to do 5,000 and commit to using that every year so that we kept up on it. I think, so this current budget is kind of the first year that we've had that 5,000 in there, and maybe that needs to be increased for the next budget, but I think the idea was that we would use that every year to do some to sort of keep up with it, and maybe in the beginning to get caught up we would need to use more.
Yeah, but I think Kaylee is right that if we create a schedule, that'll help us stay on task, because I think without that, we just lose focus. That everybody's got other things that they're doing, and it just slides off the radar.
And you need to go and approach the state for their ash tree grant funds.
Yeah, I didn't even know.
Before, when we started out, we were the only town that was asking for it, so we got the full amount of the money for the first couple of years, but now it's being split up.
Yeah.
But you need to approach the state and look for that grant money, because it'll just bolster the money you're putting away.
Right.
Yeah, and I know just another Conservation Commission mention or shout out is they're mapping all the ash trees in downtown Hardwick, so they know, which will be really helpful for us when we need to take care of that. So, great. Thanks for letting us know, Bear.
No, I appreciate you here. And, it's almost like you see a pothole, like, oh, someone's good, and then before you know it, they fix it, So.
They pave it. They pave the whole pothole.
After you spray it.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
So are we going to follow up with Tom on that, or?
We can follow up with Tom on that, but I think it's something that we need to.
It's like a budget
issue, yeah. And to some degree, although there's some money in the budget, so there's no reason we couldn't do what we can afford to do this year.
And there's still some left in capital too, which I almost think is 5,000, so we would actually have about 10 to work with.
Yeah.
And what we did, so we just need to figure out how we're gonna do that, what's the best path forward. Last time, instead of doing a nice careful trimming, we got somebody with a flail mower to just beat it back, because you can get a lot more mileage done that way. It's ugly the first year.
We did some last fall. Summit did some like Macville area and
Yeah.
whatnot, so.
Yeah, but there are lots of areas.
Do they do
So,
it themselves or do they contract it out?
you know, they've done some trimming. I know they did a bunch up where they were working on Bridgman Hill, but I think we in the past have contracted it out, like when we want miles
But
clear.
we don't have any way to chip the brush and everything now because there's no, so if you hire somebody, they do the chipping.
So-
And they take care of it all.
So we need to do that.
And that could be done
Yeah.
relatively quickly.
Yeah.
Can I
Yeah.
just make a really quick recommendation about that?
Yes.
That we do that for every area that's already been flail trimmed, and then consult the tree warden and the conservation commission about anything downtown, because there's also a major aesthetic value of the trees downtown. So maybe that could be kind of,
I think most of the
like, you could
issues,
do the flail trimming this fall in the areas that we know need it, that have had it before, like the thick areas of Richmond Hill. But in terms of downtown, if we had a plan for next year
Yeah.
of how to do that properly, I think
That would be great. Yeah. I mean, yeah, flail mowing's not appropriate everywhere, and it is ugly, and it makes a mess. I mean, I get it. We were just trying to get
Yeah.
the most mileage done we could.
That was what they were not so happy with along 16 in East Hardwick, wasn't it? Last year or a year before that or something?
Could be. Yeah. Anyway,
It's ugly.
so two things on that. One is we'll have to figure out a plan for this year, and then I'm sure Casey's gonna make a note that we wanna address that when we do our budgeting. Yeah, okay. And the rest of us are all gonna try to remember,
Thanks, Casey.
which, you know,
Yes.
see how that goes. The next item is item 4, select board to hear a proposal for spending Vermont Community Foundation grant funds for bike racks, signage, and kiosks. And this is, I believe, a $10,000 grant that we, the town of Hardwick, received maybe a year ago.
It was like March of this year.
Oh, this year? Oh, okay. And so the idea is to help bolster our bike friendliness in town, and we have in our packets, we have some suggestions from Local Motion, and we have somebody, sorry,
You're muted.
Jonathan is here from Local Motion. Could you, hi.
Hi there, folks. How's it going?
Good.
So, yeah, I believe Casey Gravel is maybe also there and is going to talk a little bit about yep, I see Casey's hand. Okay, cool. So Casey, you want me to go ahead with my portion of the presentation here?
Yeah, I just want to give a little bit of background really quick. So there was an original budget proposed for these expenditures that was share the road signs, some bike racks, and some information kiosks. And when we got ready to sort of start spending that money, because we do need to expend this grant before the end of the year, sort of looked at it and thought, well, you know, the original budget was like 20 share the road signs, this many bike racks. We ended up, Sherry connected us with Local Motion, who kind of specializes in this, to sort of get some guidance from them on, you know, where we might put these racks, what types of racks we should use. They have the expertise, so that's why we decided to consult with them. So Jonathan worked up kind of this, you know, here's where we think it would be good to have these, what we recommend. And so he made a nice little presentation to sort of revise our budget, because I'll have to go back to Vermont Community Foundation and say, this is our revised budget, this is how we want to spend the money, and they will need to approve it, but it's not really deviating from the original plan, just kind of switching things up the number.
Yeah, more specific,
Yes.
a little less arbitrary.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
So do you have this on your screen? Do you want to share screen, or do you want me to pull it up on here?
I can share my screen.
Okay, that'd be great. That'd be easier, sure.
All right.
See how slick this works?
Pretty good so far.
So you folks are all seeing that now?
There we go.
Yeah.
That's fancy.
Okay, super. And I think you've all got the most up-to-date numbers on the budget there, but when we get to that, let's just verify. So yeah, I'm Jonathan Weber. I'm the Complete Streets Program Manager at Local Motion. I help communities all over the state basically just become friendlier for biking and walking. You'll have a great opportunity coming out with the completion of the rail trail. Super exciting. So I was happy to help Casey out with these recommendations. This presentation does not include the sort of kiosk portion of the grant. Casey's sort of maybe going to talk more about that. I just want to mention these are not engineering recommendations, so it's specifically for the road signage. You may want to talk to an engineer or at least the road foreman about specific placements for those signs. So first off, on bike parking, you see those P's on the map. Those are the locations. So we've got Veterans Memorial Park, the library, the Hardwick house, both sides of the pedestrian footbridge, and then by the yellow bar. So these were, this covers all of the locations that were identified in the grant, and then I think one or two additional ones. The style of rack that we're recommending is a hoop rack, so you can see sort of these upside down U's, that's called a hoop. We like to recommend these. These are sort of the standard all around the state. It's what Burlington uses here where I live. The reason that we recommend these is because they allow for 2 points of contact with the bicycle, which keeps the bike from falling over. Oftentimes, the older style racks where you can really only just get a wheel into it, the bikes will fall over, it'll be pretty messy. It's also very hard to securely lock a bike to that style of rack. So these racks conform to all the sort of standards that are out there. It's a good way to go. They're very durable, they're very secure. Generally, these hoops, they can be mounted directly to concrete. Most of the sites do not have, just additional space where they could be installed on concrete. So what I'm recommending is that these metal rails be used, and these can be purchased from our vendor. And that way, the rack can just be placed on the ground. They're still quite secure in terms of the rack being taken there because they're very heavy, but it is possible to also just sort of nail it into the ground for extra security. Generally though, in my experience, bike rack theft is not a problem, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. The nice thing about this, the rail, is that also you can move it if the location doesn't work. You can shift it if you need to for plowing, all that stuff. And if you wind up with a concrete pad later on with some additional space, the racks can still be secured to that pad. So I'm providing just this setbacks document just for reference for when the racks are placed, just to make sure they're far enough from walls and not impeding any walkways. Here's the budget. So it's 6 total locations. Each location is receiving, in our recommendations, a 3-hoop rack on rails. So each one of those racks is going to provide parking for up to 6 bikes. And the total for that is $4,424. On the road signage, so again, these are general recommendations. I'm not a professional engineer. These are all MUTCD compliant signage, but you may want to have an engineer look at the specific placements, or at least have your road foreman review it. This is the general area where I think these signs would be appropriate based on my understanding of the roadway characteristics and where I would anticipate there being bike traffic. These are all on town highway or town roads. Here's your proposed budget, so $2295. A large portion of this is the posts for the signs. If your highway department has additional posts, maybe that's a cost that you can put elsewhere, but for the sake of this, I wanted to budget for it.
I already had Tom.
We just have to buy them.
Yes, and then
We use them, they get abused, they get replaced, we buy new ones.
Yep. So here's total budget, $67,1968. That's for the bike racks and the signs. And that's it. Happy to take any questions.
Is this the time to ask like specific questions about the
Placement?
I have a question.
I think it's okay to engage into a short discussion about specific placements.
Liz had a question.
Right. I looked at the map and the placement for the bike rack relative to the townhouse, and would like to suggest that it would be, if you moved it closer to the rail trail, perhaps even across the rail trail to the parking lot, it would be more generally accessible to people using the rail trail. Nobody on a bicycle who comes down Slap Hill to Maple Street and comes to a rail trail is going to continue on Maple Street to have to go around that corner onto Church Street. So if the bike rack is up by the rail trail, they can come down the rail trail and it's right there and have the same effect with a lot more safety and a lot easier access.
And we definitely have the final say on this. Like, he's just doing it from like Google Maps. Jonathan wasn't able to actually come here, so we can definitely do that. He's sort of kind of general area recommendations, right, Jonathan?
Yeah, totally. Exactly. These are general recommendations. I'm not obviously as familiar with the area as you are, so. And one of the nice things about, again, these racks on rails is they can be moved. I will say, it is ideal to have like parking at the destination. So if you imagine folks potentially riding their bikes to the townhouse, it is beneficial to have bike parking right there.
So I just have another, this is maybe more for the select board, Jonathan, so I apologize, but I'm just thinking since they'll be movable theoretically, that maybe we could temporarily put the yellow barn one somewhere, if we're doing this fall.
Put it somewhere else,
Put it somewhere else while that project's going on, and then move it there when the time is right.
Realistically, these won't be able to be installed this year because there's a 7-week lead time to get them. So if I could order them next week, for example, it'll be 7 weeks before we get them. They will not be able to be installed until springtime anyway.
That's so much time before winter, Casey.
No, October is winter.
So, I have a general question about the budget, and that is, it's a $10,000 grant, so this...
Kiosk is the other part.
Okay.
Right.
I was kind of dealing with, I have found some in the like $300 to $3,500 range, so that's why I guided him to come up with like $6,500 kind of thing, and he did great with that. Thank you, Jonathan.
Okay.
That was my one question, and I got it answered when this first
So
came up.
I did find some online. I guess my concerns with that was, so the original grant said that there would be one at the Wright Farm Road parking lot, which is kind of like over by the dam by the Quick Stop. And then the Pocket Park, which I think is the triangular park.
It's the gravel park near the bridge.
Okay, which I think already has a lot of stuff going on there, and then we really want to wait to install that, but we might need to purchase it this year. And then Memorial Park was the other one. And so one of the things we'll have to consider is who's going to maintain these, like,
So
what kind
are
of
they?
information is going to be in them.
Oh, they're information kiosks?
Information kiosk, so it's like...
So like they could be locked up on the bottom and they would be lifted up and...
Like the downtown commission volunteered to do that, as I remember.
Very funny, yeah.
But that's all, I'm just saying, like, if I'm gonna purchase them, but I'm not gonna commit to keeping the information up to date.
Okay, but for right now, it sounds like this is a plan that makes sense. It's all stuff you can buy and spend the grant on, and we can put things in storage over on Creamery Road somewhere until next spring when we can install them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Same with the signs, installing them next spring.
Yeah, and the other thing is the signs, any that are along the paving route for 2022, we don't want to put those up until after because they'll get taken down.
Right.
Because they put all new signs, so. But we at least, know how we can spend it. And I really appreciate you, Jonathan, sort of guiding us in this because, I'm not familiar with what good bike racks are and really what would be good options to purchase. So that was really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Just a couple quick things. The comment about Wright Farm Road parking lot, You can totally put a rack there. My thinking there was that, that's probably somewhere where people are gonna park to go ride their bikes, rather than a destination where people are arriving and getting off their bikes. So my thinking was to locate that rack at the yellow barn,
I think she was
instead, since it's more of a destination.
I think she was saying kiosk, information kiosk there, not a rack.
But there's both, there's actually.
Oh, there's both. Oh, but we can move them.
So he suggested,
Yeah, put 'em both
instead of
up.
putting it there,
Yeah, yeah.
put the rack at the yellow barn,
Yeah.
which we will when it's done. I think
Right.
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to note, I think on the budget that you have for the bike racks, I believe that's missing the Memorial Park location. So if you don't see that on there, the total, all the totals are still correct at 4424. It's just that I missed Memorial Park, and the per item cost is a little off, but the total is still the same.
Okay. Thank you.
So I just had one
Kaylee
question about signage, because I think it's so awesome that we're gonna have share the road signs, because biking downtown is truly terrifying.
No, it
for
is
an adult.
not.
And kids, my only thought is, no, so there are more and more kids biking to school, which is fantastic. The bike racks at the elementary school have been packed every day.
Awesome.
Many of them come from Lower Cherry Street and bike up that hill. So
Wow.
I'm wondering if
That's
the
steep.
town could think about purchasing more share the road signs to match this grant, and then maybe it's like an additional 5 to put in those areas around Atkins Field. There's also a lot of biking that happens there. The roads there are pretty tight. So I'm just wondering if we could think about, if we're gonna do this, we might as well think about maybe expanding it a tiny bit and making those kids a little more safe.
Yeah, so we're doing, you did notice that there's share the road bicycle warning and the bicycles may use full lane? Okay.
Yeah. And so the elementary, I noticed that there are spots for the elementary school, which totally makes sense. The elementary school also has like already lots of signage about being safe. I think there should definitely be one there, but there's just a lot of bike traffic that comes up that, just from that residential Lower Cherry Street area. So,
Good to know.
just a thought.
Yeah. And I've seen a lot of kids biking around down by Atkins Field. And, Yep. So, is it a possibility to decrease the kiosk count and increase the road sign count?
Yeah, as long as I just have to present to Vermont Community Foundation like our revised budget. So if you, if you chose to get more signs and one less kiosk, you could probably free up like $1,000 or something, $1,000 or $1,500 and only do 2 kiosks to get additional signage.
One challenge with the signs is that the posts are typically sold in bundles of 10. And as you can see, the bundles are pretty expensive. So I'm recommending 10 signs to match the bundle of 10 posts that's budgeted for. So if you go up in signage, we'll need more posts as well, and probably need to get 10, although maybe the road crew has a source for buying singles.
Or the road crew may have a use for posts that are not part of this, right? Like we might be able to buy, I don't know how the reimbursement, if we bought like 2 bundles, but we were only gonna use 15 posts, maybe 15 of them can get billed to the grant and 5 can get billed to the highway department, and they're gonna use them anyway.
Well, it's a good question too. Thanks for bringing that up, Jonathan, because looking at the budget, we've got it's basically 1 bundle of 10.
Yep.
But we have 14 signs. So wouldn't we have to buy 2 bundles? Or
Some of the posts are there.
Oh, could go on existing posts? Okay.
Posts that are already there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me clarify, I believe it's the bicycles may use full lane sign is required to be mounted below the bicycle warning sign. The share the road sign and the bicycle warning sign have to be mounted together. So that's why there are more signs than posts.
Okay, so essentially there's like 9 posts that we need. Okay, yeah, gotcha.
Share the road sign statistically isn't as effective by itself.
Oh, okay.
I did that little bit of research.
Well done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Yeah, so you're looking for us to say, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, basically sort of a blessing.
So-
Yeah, I don't think
so-
we need a motion. I mean, we've got the money.
Right.
We just need to, I need to be able to go back to them and say, this is how we're gonna
We're gonna
spend
spend
it.
it. So are we happy with this, or do we wanna make a change and,
The only thought I have about the kiosk thing is that we do have that area on the clip joint building, on that building.
Yep.
That's an enclosed
Yep.
information space, and we don't necessarily have to have yet another, place right downtown. I mean,
Right.
it could be in that spot, so we could skip that kiosk possibly.
Or where the chamber had their.
Yeah, where there's trails information, I mean,
So you mean
that-
the one that was gonna
That's
be
that's to
by
be
the
used
village
for.
diner in that little park, that's the one we would skip?
Yeah.
Because there's already one by the
Yeah.
foot joint? Okay.
Yeah, there's one on the side of the building that's, that's enclosed, so information about the trails right now, the information about the trails and the old, yeah.
so if we did that, sorry to make changes to this on the fly after you guys have worked to make it work.
That's okay.
But would that,
That would allow for some,
I mean, what I'm hearing is that from what Kaylee sees at the school, it might be useful to have a few more signs in the lead up to the school, and maybe down in the neighborhood around Atkins Field, if we had money to get a few more signs. And I'm not sure which signs,
Yeah, I'm not sure which.
so,
I mean, it seems like for Cherry Street, maybe the bicycles, I don't know, I'm not an expert, but the bicycles may use full lane because there aren't sidewalks. I don't know if that's how you determine that, like, I mean, bicycles shouldn't be on sidewalks,
So-
but they're like a.
is this something where we could say to Casey, please figure out something rational that removes some money from, by removing one key?
Basically, one less kiosk to get some more signs.
Yes.
Okay, sure.
I just want to comment, that pocket park, that's awful tiny already.
Yeah,
Putting a bike rack there
there is one there.
is
there's
going
a
to,
bike rack there right now, but it's a
We'd
different
replace
kind.
The one is there is not very good,
Yeah.
right,
so this would just
so
replace
this
that.
is just a replacement
Yeah.
for what,
And then we would skip the
Yeah.
kiosk there
Right.
as well.
Yep.
So, okay.
it's just kind of crowded down there already. I mean, it's a pretty small park.
Well, we don't know what that's gonna look
Yeah.
like once the bridge is.
Right.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jonathan.
Yeah.
We'll be in touch maybe about a couple more signs, okay?
Sounds good, thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, next is, where are we? Item 5. Select board to consider approval of banner applications for the craft fair and the farmer's market, is that right?
Yes.
And we have, their timing is okay? So we can do them both?
Okay, yes, I've got,
I know you sent us the thing and I,
oh yes, and I gotta pull it up because, so for Aware is. This Saturday,
October,
it's 9/18, so this Saturday through 10/3, because the craft fair is on 10/2.
Right.
And they've already communicated with HED on that.
Okay.
So 2-week placement for that for the craft fair.
yeah,
And the second one, well, we can do them together, is that
Yep.
okay? Okay. Second one is for the Hardwick Farmers Market. So they're actually looking to do this for the season next summer. They know what size the banner is going to be and roughly what it's going to say on it, but since it's not officially designed, it might say something like live music vendors. It could have a little bit different language than what they have, but it would be obviously extremely appropriate. And May 16th to around October, if possible.
well, wait, for next year, for the whole
Yes,
year?
they want it for like the
Whole
season
summer.
is what they're looking for, yes.
And do we have any other, seems like do we not have other things that go up there typically?
Not this year, right?
Well, I don't have any requests for
Just the craft
2022
fair?
yet. Don't believe we've had any this year.
They have 2 sites for them too, right?
I
Because,
think there's 2 spots, so if they were in one, it would
Okay.
still leave another spot for somebody else who wanted it for a short period.
Okay,
What if we, assuming that their craft fair happens again next year, what if we say that they can put because there's not room for
She just said there are two.
Oh, there are.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great.
There's
Cool.
two, so they could have one the whole year, and there'd be another spot for somebody else for a event that was just 2 weeks or something.
I think they added in a second one because we used to have a crowd of banners back in the day.
And most banners go up for a limited period of time.
Yes.
Great.
We're not bumping into any
I
signage
would love to
issues.
make the motion to approve the banner application for Ware for 9/18 to 10/3 this year. And and also approve the Hardwick Farmers Market from May of 2022 to October of 2022.
Second?
Additional discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you to everyone. Next is item 6, Business Manager Casey to present the proposed fiscal year 2022 water and sewer rates.
We've all been waiting for it.
The moment we've all been waiting
So much
for.
enthusiasm here.
So,
Right there.
I know it's kind of hard to see, but it is in your packet. Let's talk about water first. It's still kind of blurry, but, okay, so, come down here for, so when, I guess, Eric and I talked about this earlier, but every year we have a committee with the town clerk's office, the town manager's office, and some select board members to look at these rates. And one of the things that was brought up is back in 2015, when the town voted to support the bond for the water meters, the idea was that it would be more equitable because those people that used more would pay more. And what we found is that it's sort of been more of a flat rate, and kind of people that are low users are paying the same as the higher residential user, for example. So this year we decided to try something different to make things more equitable. The residential quarterly allotment has been $10,000. What we're proposing is that it would be lowered to $8,000, but the base rate would also be lowered. For example, with your residential $8,000, the old rate was $288 a year. It would go to $252. And anything over $8,000 would be assessed the overage rate at the .008. So basically, these lower users are going to pay a lower rate. In addition, I want to point out that say you're somebody that really used the 10,000 gallons, you still are going to be paying less than the old rate. And I will give you an example. If you use 10,000, the extra 2,000 gallons is an additional $16 roughly. So that means you would be at $268 a year, and right now you're at $288. So it's still manageable for somebody, and I even use the example for somebody that say uses 14,000 gallons. They would be looking at around $300, so only $12 more than what the current rate is. So that's, go ahead.
And right now, if they went to $14,000, they would get an additional extra charge, right?
yes.
So it wouldn't.
They'd already have overage.
They would already have overage on top of
Right,
that.
we already have
Right.
overage, but yes. So, people see, okay, the base is lowering from 10 to 8. Yes, it is, but if you still use those two where you were before, it's still going to be less than what it was before.
It might not be quite.
2,000.
That's 2,000 per quarter, so then there are 4 quarters. Right? Am I wrong?
Right, $16. $16 a quarter, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so 16, okay.
Yeah. It'd be 16.
Well, that would be if
It'd
they used
16.
12,000 a year. Like if they use
16 times 4?
Additional.
Oh, yes, that's
what
true.
you're saying.
16 times 4.
Quarter versus a year, right?
Yes, that's right, 16 times 4, yeah, so it would be,
What ends up, I believe when it nets out, that if you are a user who uses 10,000 gallons a year, you would pay a little bit more, but it's not
correct.
a lot more
Yes,
because the base rate went down.
$64
And then you do some overage, you come up, you pay a little bit more
Yeah.
Yeah.
if you're right at that 10,000 mark. But for
Yes, I was thinking
folks that are below,
Yeah.
it's just shifting it so that your base rate is lower, but it doesn't cover as much.
Right.
And if you use more, you pay more. And that is one of the complaints that we heard early on and have continued to hear from people who, especially who are very low users, is that they pay just as much as folks who are, family of 4.
Which is what we were trying to work at.
Which is what we were trying to get away from. So this is, and like Casey said, to start off in the preamble, like we do this every year. So this is not now cast in stone forevermore going forward. This is 1 year's water rate schedule.
And there is going to be a letter that will go out with the bills at the end of the month that the select board has signed, and I did give you a copy of that. So yes, so as you can see, old rates, new annual rates, quarterly allocation is going to be 8,000 instead of 10,000. This will allow us to meet our expense budget of the 298, and we expect some penalties and interests, and then miscellaneous income is your water connections and interest. So that's how we will do it.
All right.
Okay. Let's move on to sewer.
So for sewer, before we dive in, from a high level point of view, we are trying to build in bond payments for the sewer project, which now is going to be redefined, but we're still confident. I'm stating this, but it's really a question. We're still confident that we're moving ahead with some sort of improvement project at the sewer plant, and we're planning to still use the bond for that. So we still want to build that in, right?
Yes.
Okay, looking around.
So same idea with the quarterly allocations. There is, however, a rate increase which is necessary to support the bond and other capital improvements and increases in the regular budget. When the bond was presented, it said it would be around $15 per quarter for the typical residential user, so like $60 a year. At this point, we're looking at about a $28 increase per year for a typical residential user, just on the base rates. We did have to also increase the overage to .013 from .011, and then the base rates are increasing about 6%, which the budget went up 5.6%. So it's pretty well in line with what the expense budget went up.
That increase is because when we initially thought we could get a 30-year bond, but it's actually, the timing was different than we thought it was going to be, is that?
Correct, the bond payment was more because it could only be a 20-year bond, not a 30-year. So the payment was significantly higher than what we had thought initially.
Okay. Do people have questions about the proposed rate structure?
We always strive to do the least possible increase that we can. We know people struggle with this, but in order to try to move forward with that project, this is our best scenario at this moment. So $28 a year for the typical residential user, but there will be a decrease on the water side, so those people that have both accounts will help to offset.
And next year, when we do the budgets, which we do separately, we should probably work in some annual amount for the sludge removal, or at least talk about how we're gonna get that in there. Since it's reared its ugly head.
So this should get us to where we need to be. The expense budget's, as you can see, significantly higher than water, as we talked about earlier. But that's how we're gonna get there.
So,
Questions?
yeah, questions? If there are no questions, does somebody want to make a motion to approve the rates for water and sewer as proposed?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Casey and Alberta, who's not here, and Tanya, everybody who's worked on this.
And the naysayers, like
Kenny?
me.
And the yeah. You're just trying to get me wound up, I think. Oh yeah, Kenny.
I would like to say that I really admire the work that you have put into this. I have lived in communities where they meter the water that they send you, and then they just charge 2.5 times that for your sewage rate. So that you got charged 2.5 times the water that you put onto your lawn, 2.5 times the water that you put on your car, that you actually spend the time and energy and mind-bending effort to figure out the numbers, I think is heroic.
That's her fun. That's her fun. It's not my fun.
All right.
It's her fun.
You mean we're giving her accolades for playing?
Yes. No,
All right.
she does a great job.
Yeah.
Yes.
Really.
And while we're on the water wastewater topic, we're going to move to item number 7, which is about considering a new water wastewater connection for Vermont Natural Coating. Somebody's going to have to fill us in because I don't know what this is about.
So, Andrew Meyer is considering building a new building down on Junction Road in the industrial park. It's going to be near where his original Natural Coatings building was or is.
Yeah.
And right now, Natural Coatings is up in the Menage building, functioning away, but he wants to move it to a building that he owns, so probably to save on rent and stuff like that. So he's asking to hook onto the water and sewer line, and I've allocated, I think it was like 15 pounds of BOD because we're not really sure what his BOD load would be. We're going to make sure that would cover that, and we believe that we, without Caledonia Spirits here, actually got some free BOD space at the wastewater plant, and
we are going to have the yellow barn coming, which is going to have some loading too.
Have they done their water and sewer connection yet?
No.
I guess they're in line then. First come, first serve.
Okay.
It'd be pretty hard to choose one over the other, you know what I'm saying?
No, we want to do both. I'm just saying.
Right.
We want to do it all.
That's right, do it all. That's why we want to upgrade that treatment plant.
Yes.
So anyway, I believe at this time, we have like a 6-inch main that goes through there for water, and we have an up-to-date sewer line that goes through there, so it's appropriate to hook them on. So I would recommend hooking them on. At this point, he doesn't know what else he's going to have in that building, but he is going to have Natural Coatings there for now, 6 people. He expects to use around 190 gallons a day of water. Not all of that's going to go into sewer because it goes into the product that they're producing. But that's what his plan is. So he'd use about 60,000 gallons a year. He'd be on an industrial rate. So,
do we have to allocate some pounds of BOD to it or not, if we don't know what the loading is?
Well, I would...
or are you doing it just to kind of be safe and think about how it might impact us?
I'm trying to, you need to kind of allocate that, otherwise you just let him hook on and whatever, and then he has no requirements to meet.
Right.
At least this way, 15 pounds isn't a lot.
Okay.
And
it's a starting point, kind of?
It's a starting point, and if he may go over it. I think like Vermont, I think, I'm not going to say Vermont soy because I don't remember what their allocation is. I think their allocation is less than 25 pounds. I think at that treatment plant, you're required by federal law to stay below 5% of the design load in the design flow. So I think around 21 pounds is like the max you can allocate without having to go through the permit process in Montpelier. So at this point, I would say it's safe to do 15 pounds.
And you've discussed that with
Andrew?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's happy to have anything at this point. But the thing is, so I have no idea what else is going in there. They're already discharging to the municipal treatment plant. All we're doing is moving them from point A to point B.
Right. That's actually a really good point.
Yeah, so it's not like we even know they're there.
There's no change in load really if they move.
Right.
Yeah, got it.
Unless somebody moves into the spot they're in, and then that's a different, we can address that later.
Right, because whoever goes in back into Menage building will have to apply for a discharge permit for the wastewater plant, depending on what they discharge.
Right, but if it's something that doesn't really discharge.
Hopefully it's not like a cheese plant or something. So, yes. You can't only have so many of those.
Oh, come on.
But anyway, so I just would recommend approval of that. I don't think it'll have an impact. We've had quite a few hookups this year though, people who are looking to hook up or are hooking up to water and sewer.
Good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a good sign for the economy.
Right.
So.
All right, so.
If somebody does decide to move it, could they just approve it subject to receipt of the connection fees? Because he hasn't submitted the fees yet.
Sure.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the wastewater connections for Vermont natural coating subject to the connection fees.
Payment of the connection fees.
Payment of the connection fees.
Okay.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is item 8, select board to just designate voting delegates to the annual meeting. So VCLT, the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, is having its annual meeting. It's actually a whole long series of events this year. And but we, as a member, we need to designate voting delegates for each of the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, VERB, which I don't even remember.
Vermont Employment Resource Benefit.
Thank you, and PASIF, which is
Property and Casualty Insurance Fund.
There we go. So since we're members of all those things, we need to send voting delegates. So, does the town manager's office have a suggestion on what we do?
Well, it's historically done the town manager.
Yeah, so we could.
And it is a virtual meeting.
Yeah.
It can be virtual or you can go, right?
Yes, you can go.
Okay.
It's at 1 o'clock on the 29th of September.
29th?
Yes.
And basically, there's 3 meetings, so you have.
They're all back to back.
Yeah, I was gonna say you gotta sit through them all. If you like watching paint dry, you'll love it. I did it for East Montpelier last year, and I said, I'm not doing it this year. But I think that, yeah, I would recommend the new town manager go.
Yeah.
Get his feet wet.
Does that sound okay?
That sounds fine.
It probably will last like an hour, maybe, I would say. I don't
Oh,
think,
it's not-
I don't
it's
think
not super long.
I mean, they like go over the minutes and.
God.
You think it's longer than that?
I was there, I know how long it lasts. My eyes glazed over. Even the toothpicks didn't work any longer.
Anyway, we should send somebody just because we should.
They just don't have a lot of control of the meeting, and the worst part of it was the VLCT meeting, where they have their annual meeting, and they talk about their policies and policy changes. I mean, that went on forever.
Like this meeting.
Like this meeting.
Yeah.
Some people just don't shut up.
Okay.
Me.
But we really use these services a lot.
Oh, no,
We
people
lean
should
on
go to
them,
that.
we need to be involved, and we'll send our new town manager.
Congratulations.
So do we need that as a motion?
Officially appointed.
So we want to appoint the town manager, or somebody wants to make that?
That's for your voting delegation.
I move that we appoint the new town manager to serve as delegate for VLCT, VERB, and PACIF meetings.
Second.
Second. Any more discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, and thank you. Item 9 is about the next year. V-Trans is going to come through and pave the state highways that come through the village, which are basically all the main roads in the village. And we've had some input into the process there, and I'll put it this way. The Hardwick Planning Commission sent feedback back to the engineers working on the design.
Yeah. questions, ideas?
Yeah, and I actually responded with, I'm not so sure about one of them, which was parking. So there's
So the recommendation of the engineers was to, on South Main Street, Route 14, retain the handicap spot near the church and shift the center line.
that's the recommendation of the engineers?
Oh, no, that was the question. So the question was if we want to keep that handicap spot in front of the church that
Yeah.
we did the whole, open the ordinance and changed that a couple of, 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
If we want to have that maintained that way, then they are saying that we have to shift the center line and that we'll lose some parking on the opposite side of the street because of the width
People
of
hitting
the-
mirrors going through there, you can't have parking on both sides.
Right.
And the town would be liable for that too.
Right.
So in
So-
the grand scheme with what the engineers have laid out, if we go ahead and go with that plan and it reduces parking spaces on the little strip of Main Street downtown,
But not downtown.
You mean by the elementary school?
Across from the church.
yeah, but I'm just saying,
Churches?
so the whole project though,
Yeah.
is gonna reduce parking on Main Street, but, viewed as a whole, we're gonna pick up additional parking spots because there'll be more parking spots striped up past the elementary school.
Right.
Heading south on, South Main Street. So my recollection is that the engineers initially proposed removing the 2 parking spots in front of the church, shifting the center line a little bit towards the church, and then that allowed us to add more parking on the cemetery side of the street, and then the net result was essentially 0 change to the number of parking spots. But
Except
okay.
that means that the church is in the same place they were in when they came to the select board to find some way to have handicap parking spots for their people that attend that can't. And it's a tricky situation because the hill on the other side, they can't put a handicap spot on that hill, whatever that street is that
Cherry.
Cherry? And there just isn't any place for them to have a handicap spot. So that's why the select board at that time went ahead
Yes.
and said, yeah,
Go ahead.
put those
Right.
spots there. So the planning commission is of the feeling that we should allow them to retain those spots because they need them. I mean, people that are using them now will be replaced by people that will use them later. So, I don't know. That's what the planning commission is saying, but they'll still do whatever they want to do. But we have a meeting that Kristen set up tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock that the select board's welcome to join if they want to. It's one of those Google Meets or something like that.
But it hasn't been warned.
Kristen sent it out, yeah.
Oh, it has, okay.
Yeah, she sent it out.
All right.
Unless it wasn't the right amount of time or whatever.
I don't know. Anyway.
So I just have a quick question,
Yeah.
just to understand, and sorry, I don't have the map. But so would the parking spots from Calderwood Insurance to the crosswalk remain on both sides?
Yeah.
So those remain on both sides, but basically we have to choose between either from the other auto shop to the church or the other side. So we have to choose between those 2 parking lanes, basically, because the road's not
Not
wide
my
enough.
understanding, it's
Is
just
that what
those
they're
2 handicap spots in front of the church somehow, and I don't
Oh,
totally.
so it's not the whole strip, it's just 2
Right.
spots?
Right,
Okay.
but, so if they move the line, then.
So we don't have the map in front of me, but what I recall is that the street is not exactly straight, right? So.
It shrinks down too.
So the alignment matters, like where you stripe the center line matters. So if you move the center line so that you can retain those 2 handicap spots, I can't remember if you maybe can get another spot in on that side or not, but the net result is it's farther back toward the elementary school before you can start having parking on the uphill side of the street. and the net result is fewer spots
And when do we have to make that decision?
before our next meeting.
Okay. I don't know.
The engineering
'Cause they're
makes
trying to
absolutely
finalize it.
perfect sense, but it doesn't take into account the human need for access to that church. You know, I think that there are some really strange jogs in lanes in Burlington, and it's strange because they're dealing with, you know, multiple needs. If we have a strange jog on South Main Street because the church needs handicap access, it's not the first strange jog in the state.
I don't think it ends up being a strange jog, it just ends up being fewer parking spots.
Yeah, I mean, the center line is still,
It's still fairly straightish.
so it's not like you have to like
Yeah, it'll be,
round, it's
right.
How many would
it's
it
where
be?
they put that line.
I don't remember, do
I
you know?
definitely just personally don't feel comfortable taking those spots away from the church because
Okay.
that is the only handicap access to
Yeah.
And that's,
that part of the building.
basic feeling of the planning commission as well.
Just because you can't, there's not, I think code-wise, there are not enough spots below for the handicap access. There is an elevator.
There's
Right.
spots
Yeah, I
below?
don't really know.
There's like that one little spot, but it's
On
not,
Cherry
it's not
Street?
an official,
It's on a hill.
yeah.
Yeah, I can't see anybody,
Could they
no.
move the church?
So, I mean, that's the deal, so,
Yeah.
and then otherwise, we're just gonna
Is
talk
it
with them
possible to
about
have-
the other stuff.
Is it possible to have the handicap spots on the opposite side of the street, or is that silly?
That's
I
not
think
very
Without
accessible.
without a
Okay.
crosswalk?
Yeah,
You've got handicapped people dodging traffic.
Right, if you don't have a
Yeah.
Or you
crosswalk,
don't have
yeah,
a crosswalk.
problematic,
yeah. We don't have a crosswalk there.
no, I don't believe so.
I don't know.
There's a
The first
crosswalk.
one is
the
down by
elementary
the.
school.
Okay, so people want to retain that, okay,
So that's the general thing, that was the big
Okay.
question where we had a difference of
Yeah.
opinion between the select board and the
although
planning
it was
commission.
really just me
Otherwise,
speaking,
The
but,
planning commission also has some interest in asking about, because they're gonna grind the whole road down.
yeah,
And so there is some curiosity on the planning commission about the big areas like in front of Mike's Brochu's place and in front of Richard Brochu's place and Grace and stuff, whether or not when they grind way down, will they find sidewalks that used to exist? And that's just a little curiosity that we have. Now,
Excellent.
of course, they won't do anything about that, replacing or, returning those to actual sidewalks. But we kind of think that it might be good to consider making a plan for it,
okay,
and whether or not, and I think another question with the now discussion around the co-op moving to the village market, whether or not the placement of those crosswalks is just right and, if there'll be potentially more.
doesn't really change the
Crossing.
use there, but, yeah,
Well,
It's kind of a weird crosswalk.
because you cross into Richard's non-sidewalk.
right.
Right, so it's hard to
So,
know. So those are the kind of questions we're gonna ask and.
So, if I were asking the question about the sidewalks, then I would maybe rephrase it as, is there a way we could reduce these overlong curb cuts for certain places downtown? I think asking, is there a chance that they're gonna grind down and find sidewalks is a strange approach, especially considering they're only grinding the street, they're not grinding over by the sidewalk. So I don't know how they would ever find that and what relevance that would have.
Okay, well, they're not gonna replace any sidewalks, but we might want to. think
Well,
about
there
it
are
at some
places
point.
where they want to reduce the curb cuts, so.
Right.
I was just going to say, the Historical Society has got a bunch of pictures of Mill Street, beginning to when it was pure mud, up to fairly modern. I'll look to see if there are pictures of sidewalks
Perfect.
on the north side of Mill Street.
And then.
Excellent.
Yeah, where Mike Brochu's place is also.
Any other considerations on parking, street grinding, et cetera?
No, although the other idea around having the co-op potentially move is that alleviates a lot of problems with truck deliveries and with congested parking on Main Street.
This
would be a benefit.
shameless pitch to all co-op members to vote for the move.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you know, I'm a co-op member. I'll
Yeah.
decide.
Depends on what moves into that slot.
So but it probably is unlikely to be grocery deliveries all the time, which does take up a lot of parking. All right. Does that conclude
Yeah,
until tomorrow?
yeah.
Okay. Next is item 10, select board to authorize VIS, I can't remember what it stands for to be the owner's rep and clerk of the works for the Yellow Barn project. So, sorry, I just got this in from Allison, I think today, and then Casey uploaded it to the drive, so I don't know if everybody got to see it, but. So, I'll just take this opportunity to just give the spiel that Yellow Barn funding is in place. At least there's funding to meet the estimated cost. The bid documents are very close to 100% complete and will be submitted to EDA for review soon. And so we want to get the, after EDA reviews them, they'll go out to bid, but we want to get these owners' representatives on board as soon as we can to have them start work. The other thing that everybody should know is the way that they're getting paid is through grants from Vermont Community Development Program, USDA, and a loan from Vermont Community Foundation and Taproot. Anyway, the point of all that is that payment is covered through the funding sources of the project. It's not coming out of the town.
No taxpayer money involved.
Well, there is taxpayer money involved, but it's not
But
local.
not directly.
Spread out across the whole nation.
Yeah, it's true.
Get money from everybody. That's the way I like to do it.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to form a motion around that, but
Maybe to authorize the town manager to sign the contract with
BIS.
VIS.
Yes, construction consultants.
so moved.
Oh,
Hey, that one's mine.
She had it, give it to her.
you want this?
I'll second it.
There we go. Any questions
So
about
that means that the Yellow Barn is potentially going to maybe possibly break ground in
This year.
So
Yeah.
this fall.
Yeah. That is in fact the goal that we are working toward.
Did you guys want the bid for construction yet?
No, bid documents
That's
are
next.
ready, EDA needs to review them, then we go out to bid. It's gonna be tight to be breaking ground this year.
Or they can take
Depends on the
down
weather.
some of that stuff,
what?
the old stuff attached to the barn and all those weird,
That's true, right, there are things, but, yeah,
clean up the site.
actually, apparently, it's been 4 years about,
Yeah,
yeah,
of hard work.
yeah, came up recently. So we had a motion and a second, any other questions? All in favor of authorizing the town manager to sign the VIS contract, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That was everybody, motion carries. Select board reports?
The townhouse, at our meeting last night, we lowered the chandelier and we put however many bulbs there are in that fantastic old chandelier. We got great LED bulbs and they look spectacular, can I just say?
Great.
The Galaxy has a book event there on Tuesday the 28th. That's the next thing happening in there, so that would be your opportunity. It's a free event to go find out about the book that they're launching and see how beautiful that chandelier looks.
Any food? Gonna be any food there?
You just never know, John.
You have to show up to find out.
Check with the Galaxy, it's their event.
28th.
28th, Tuesday. You can look up on the townhouse website, there's info about it.
Sounds like there should be wine to celebrate the,
Do you have another
Go
one?
ahead. Nope.
I just have a really quick one. The Hardwick Rec Committee is showing their first outdoor film in Atkins
Oh, yeah.
Field. this Saturday at 8 p.m. It is Luca, which is a family-friendly film. There will be food by donation.
Free?
John? No, but it's
By
for
donation.
cash. So yeah, it's welcome. The event is free to anybody who wants to come.
Great. Any other reports? New business? Old business?
New business.
Yep.
I just have a question for the minutes or whatever. We have an industrial park that has a sign, a beautiful sign that went up at some point.
Yep.
And it has one business listed on it. Yet the industrial park is
It's full. It's true.
So I just want to put it out there that I wish that we could show that that industrial park is full, and rather than leading people to believe that we have nothing going on in that building. That
Or
is
buildings.
huge.
It's more than one.
All those, yeah, the whole thing.
Set aside some money and have a sign made.
No, the sign's there.
We don't have, there's a
We don't
sign
own it.
there.
Signs underneath.
The tenants need to have a sign made, and so, you know.
Set a policy saying if you're gonna be in an industrial park, you got to have a sign. You know what? We
I just-
follow through on policy. The policy has to be there.
Yeah. So I'm just putting that in the hopper for
Okay.
further discussion sometime later.
I don't know
That's a good one.
how we would
I
address,
just, why would we
Well-
want to make it look like it's empty when it's not? Is there some like secret nefarious business happening? No. Let's see what's in
There
there.
was a big
Let's
party
know
down
what's
there
there.
last year.
Anyway,
Okay.
that's what I got.
duly noted.
New business?
Yes,
That was new business. Old business?
yes.
Do we have any, there were surveyors at the bridge today. Anything new? We have a
Surveyor
contract
Red
with
Bridge, that's
the,
all I can tell
we
you.
have a
What are we talking
contract
about?
with the architect yet?
Oh, the pedestrian bridge.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know where we were.
Where we are, I talked to USDA and they're going to see if they can consider the possibility of us not having to use all of their contracts or AIA contracts,
Ooh,
American Institute of
yeah.
Architecture. They want to kind of, those folks in that group, AIA, want you to use their contracts, so somehow they've got USDA to agree to that.
Oh,
And I don't want to use their contract, because you have to buy them. Nothing's free. And the point is, right now, I talked to them this week. They're going to talk about the possibility. I have one AIA contract for the engineering, but not for the architecture. So they're going to talk about that. And then the what is it called? Help me with this.
kiosk,
No.
Pavilion.
No, wait, stop.
bike rack.
No. We were going for money. We got $150,000 from them, and we had to rewrite the.
Community facilities grant.
Yeah.
Well, I had to write the grant narrative over again.
Yes.
That's what it is. The narrative.
Narrative, yes, you
Okay.
did. Because we changed, because originally
Right.
we were going to use it to build the rail trail,
Right.
but now V-Trans is building the
Yeah,
rail
they've
trail.
had it for 3 weeks, so I called, I kind of
Yeah.
didn't want to cause so much trouble, and I called and nobody got back to me. I emailed, nobody got back to me, so I called them. And they go, well, we're handling all this ARPA funds that are coming in. We don't know how we're going to allocate it. We're trying to work this out. Everybody's going crazy, and we have not read your narrative. So I said, okay, fine. Next town manager.
So did you raise your hand and say, we'll take the ARPA money too?
Yeah, we'll take the ARPA money, forget that.
Right. We only have 2 grants from USDA, so we'll take another.
Yeah, so anyway, what we have is we have 2 grants from USDA. We're looking to get some money from V-Trans. V-Trans wants to have designs and engineering so they can have an idea what it's going to cost. But I can't do the designs and engineering until I get the contracts approved. And I can't get the contracts approved until the USDA approves them.
Yeah.
So that's where we are. And they're working on it this week diligently. That's what they said.
I'm sure they are. Well, just wanted to put it out there, because people do ask, like, what's going on with the bridge? It doesn't,
Well, we're having a
maybe,
survey. Tell them that.
Maybe developing a new informational sign or something, maybe I'll work on that.
Why don't you just put it on the webpage? We are waiting for USDA to authorize our contracts, and we are doing surveying at this point. We're doing a 106 review. We're doing archaeological review.
They stand there and they look at that ugly board that has some shredded signage on it about how the bridge is not in use at this time. And then they say, well, when's it gonna be fixed? What are we doing?
So when David Raphael gets us a drawing, we can put it on.
When we get a contract with him.
Yes,
And he can develop a design drawing, and we can put up a
Sadly, I only have a week
sign.
left.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
What we
Just
should
ask
really
him.
do is we should take bets on that board as to when the bridge is going to be finished. So people can write it in there.
Oh, it could be like the ice out at Joe's Pond. Okay. That's
When the
gambling
contract
though, it's
should be signed.
not legal. All right.
I
So,
have one old business item.
okay, good.
Just to give you a really quick update
Yep.
on the charter change process.
Yep.
We did get a chance to have the town attorney review it. He had several suggestions. So John has
21, so the 21.
So they're all really minor, but ultimately he has that draft. I'm working with him now to just get like the dates on when our hearings are going to be. We know the vote is going to be December 9th, so we're just kind of working backwards. So we make sure that we do our 2 public hearings in the right time frame and warn them all properly. So I've sent him an email and said, here's all the dates. Can you confirm that these are gonna fly? So that's the plan. And so we are just, like I said, that'll be to come, but it's looking like we might be able to make it work that the public hearings could be right before the November select board meetings at 5:30 is what I'm hoping for. I think it's gonna work, so that's what I'm shooting for. So that's the update, and we have incorporated his changes as well.
all right, I have an old business. I had an inquiry about the sidewalk rebuilding out here, and I said, the last I knew, we were waiting for a contractor, right?
Yes, we're not gonna do it this year.
Because it's too late, it's not gonna happen.
We could only get one concrete contractor who was at all interested, but they weren't gonna be able to do it, they're too busy. And they can't find people to work.
So we need to bid it for next year? Or do we not?
You don't need to bid it at all. We just
Okay.
need to get like 3 prices.
Okay. That'll be-
So anyway, where we are on that is we had some areas where the sidewalk wasn't gonna be able to be 5 feet wide unless we went into somebody's flower garden substantially or damaged stone walls. So we had to identify those spots that, what the widths are, because you can shrink it down, but they want it to be at 5 feet so you maintain ADA standards. And so we have some places where we're gonna shrink it down to like 4.5 feet, but they said that's okay as long as you identify where they are and it's not the whole sidewalk.
Okay.
So essentially, we went through with a tape measure, and we measured everything out, and we've got pictures of every one of those, and I just need to make some comments on it. You made some comments already on it, right?
Correct, I put them
I just
all
didn't
in
get to it
document.
yet.
I sent it to you, yeah.
So probably Monday, we'll just submit that to Scott Gurley, he'll be happy about it, and then we have this thing in kind of stasis mode until next spring.
Would it be wise to try to get prices this fall, winter for work next year?
I think it would be a good idea.
Okay.
Although it's a little bit hard to do that as well, I found with trying to get information for the townhouse estimates for that.
You did that, right? Yeah.
You're not getting responses?
I'm not getting responses.
Okay. All right, so it's in the works. And okay, got it. Thank
And
you.
the service entrance is gonna be put in over here shortly, maybe next week for the.
Oh, the temporary power to the library?
Nice.
That's good.
We did find somebody who could work.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other new business, old business? So, where's my
My favorite
mouse?
part of the meeting right here.
Adjourn. There you go. Well done.
I need several signatures from you.
I know you do, and we need
Would you need me to do anything?